A couple occasions I've heard the theory banded about before that Nicola Thinlips, or the SNP more specifically, were deliberately damaging Scotland so they could pin the blame on Westminster to try and bolster their argument for independence, quote unquote. And in some respects you could say that there's some truth to it, albeit I'm not entirely sure how much I believe that they want independence, even if they could get it. But there's definitely some truth in regards to them damaging Scotland deliberately. I recently heard that Scotland was Scotland was the poorest country now out of the four nations in the UK. I don't know how much truth is in that, but considering the fact child poverty has skyrocketed in recent years, which Westminster gets to blame for, no surprises there. Poverty itself is continuing to increase. It's only going to get worse now, but it's fucking bullshit that's going on, pardon my French. And food banks, that's another one. So we have an ever increasing amount of people in poverty, and what do the SNP trot out with? A socially just, fair world, inclusion, all that namby-pamby progressive rhetoric that we're all familiar with. And then they talk about food banks. The right to food from the United Nations Sustainable Goal 3 or 2. Can't recall off the top of my head. Starting to appear as if there's a bit of a pattern here, where these people in power, if you will, seem to think that impoverished people are easy to manipulate. And maybe they are. Time will tell. So anyway, COVID-19 highlights weaknesses and opportunities in our food system. The food system reaches into all aspects of our daily life. Yet as we have seen in this crisis, which is not a crisis because we left the borders open and are still open, the food system we have built up over the past decade can be fickle and inadequate. That's why we need sustainable bill. First and foremost, COVID-19 pandemic is a health emergency. Many have died, but we don't know if they died of COVID-19 or if it was the flu or influenza. We just presume they died of COVID-19 so we can justify a mandatory vaccination, which our so-called task force is currently working on. How convenient. We all remain at significant risk. Yes, let's keep generating fear porn. We're all at significant risk, even though supposedly all of us have already had it. Which one is it? Stay at home and save lives, but you can't go to Tesco's. Stay at home, you're killing people, said the two cops, ain't socially distancing. Sorry, that's a different video. So anyway, thousands are bereaved. Second, it's a societal upheaval. Jobs are lost. That's because the economy's been shut down. Businesses collapsed or teetering on the edge because the economy is shut down. And our food system is being bearing the brunt of this. Following the right and proper, he's got to include that, right and proper guidance to avoid eating out, and later enforced closures, many thousands of jobs in the catering sector have disappeared overnight. Many people are on the verge of bankruptcy. Many people will never be able to pick up the pieces of their shattered businesses. Within days, industries reliant on those markets, such as high-value Creole caught shellfish, begin to crumble, leaving producers such as that fishery, which comprises around 85% of Scotland's fleet, tied up in port and mothballed. The closures piled further pressure on retail supplies and saw shelves cleared even more quicker than before. Those who were already reliant on food banks found food banks themselves unable to stock up, or staff able to plug the gap. Supermarkets recorded their biggest week ever, followed by one of the worst in recent years. Many now feel very insecure, and we have the solution. Yes, we do. For various reasons, many people still don't have access to good, healthy, sustainable food. The government in Scotland, both local and national, is trying to tackle this because the UN told them to. But there is no shortage of food, just a problem of access. The full effects of this are yet to become clear. However, the fact that food lies at the centre of many of them is obvious, and highlights in sharp relief the fact that we need a system-level response to emerge from the non-existent crisis because the borders are open, stronger and more resilient. There is something we have been calling for some time, explicitly in the form of the Good Food Nation Bill, which the government have sadly had to postpone, but they're still planning on implementing it, so you're delighted. Sadly though, this was in the government's programme for the coming 12 months. Did anybody elect Nicola Sturgeon for this very reason? I'm curious. Do people elect Nicola Sturgeon for her to do these things? Because Nicola Sturgeon seems to spend the months leading up to every election banging on about independence, banging on to no end about how fucking hard done by we are, and she's going to solve all your problems. Westminster treats us like shit, casts us aside, we're all impoverished, austerity's to blame, the EU's great, independence is beckoning. William, what does she do when she gets into power? If she doesn't postpone her independence promises, she cancels them. And instead, she redistributes our wealth. While poverty increases in Scotland, she instead pisses our money away on social justice related issues. I've been through all this before. But here we are again. Who voted Nicola Sturgeon into power for her to implement a good food fucking nation bill? I'm really curious. Did she at any point mention anything to do with the Good Food Nation bill during her election campaign? No, she didn't. Sadly, though, this was, I've read that, this has become a casualty of the COVID-19 non-existent crisis because the borders are open. And whilst we recognise that this is a necessary decision by the government, the thinking which underpins the bill has never been more relevant. We need to be talking about the present insecurity as a right to as a right to food issue. A right to food issue, they say. Aha! A sustainable development goal too, and a right to access food. Sounds great on paper, but we're coming to it. I mean, you need a central coordinating body. Not unlike an independent food commission with an overview of the whole system. Oh, and I wonder who that would be. I just wonder who that would be. Oh, this ring any bells? Workings of the supply chain to the redeployment of workers in catering and hospitality in the hotspots of food insecurity. So they create insecurity and they've got the solution. What does that remind you of? Amazingly though, whilst our food system has been put under vast pressure, the chain flexed but it didn't break. There had been no food rise. And more impressively, the stock in our food system has jolted consumers into thinking beyond their weekly supermarket shop and has spurred a surge in demand for food boxes, community deliveries, and a move in general to healthier and more sustainable buying. Well, catering businesses are coming together with competitors to provide food for those unable to access food themselves, whether because the crisis has isolated them, made them insecure because they lacked food security before. As well as highlighting deficits in our previous food system, the crisis is shining a spotlight on the best examples of what a new system could look like. A new system. We got The Guardian coming out with all these articles talking about how we can create a new, fairer society after all this. We've got these wankers talking about a new food system. We've even got talk of Ailey McTaggart named first chief of Scottish National Investment Bank, and whatever. But when you come down here it says SNIB chairman Willie Watt said, "We are building a development bank that will support and encourage a fair and more inclusive economy." What does that mean? We remain resolute, that the way to get there, justly and fairly, so namby-pamby, is through a Good Food Nation bill, giving the government full access and control over all of our food with their so-called independent commission. It sounds so great. We look forward to having the opportunity to engage in that debate. Oh, I bet you are. Between them and now, we all have many challenges to face, and the Scottish Food Coalition continues to stand ready to support those in need. There will be many changes in the coming months. A new norm will form on the other side. When it comes to deciding what this new norm will look like, it could not be clearer. Food matters.